The moment my son opened his mouth, the entire kitchen froze. My husband stopped breathing. My sister-in-law's fake smile disappeared so fast, it was like someone had yanked it off her face with both hands. And my 5-year-old, completely unaware that he had just detonated a grenade in the middle of our marriage, looked around at the adults staring at him and said, "What? I just asked a question." 9 words from a kindergartner did what 47 days of my spreadsheets, my arguments, my sleepless nights, and my silent fury had completely failed to do. But before I tell you what those 9 words were, I need to tell you about the $4,100 I spent feeding and housing a woman who bought herself a $120 Lululemon set on Amazon while telling me she couldn't afford toilet paper. Because that number, $4,100, is the number that changed everything. And I need you to understand exactly how we got there. My name is Rachel. I am 34 years old. I work as a pediatric occupational therapist 4 days a week and run a medical billing side business from home on the 5th. My husband Danny and I met at a mutual friend's barbecue in the summer of 2016, when he handed me a paper plate that was about to collapse under the weight of too much potato salad and said, "Engineering would have built that plate better." I looked at him and said, "Then maybe engineers should do the cooking." He laughed so hard, he spilled his own drink. We were engaged 18 months later and married in the fall of 2018 at a state park outside Columbus, Ohio, under actual falling leaves, with exactly 42 people watching. My mother cried. Danny's mother, Linda, cried harder. It was perfect. Danny is a structural engineer. Good salary, solid benefits, the kind of man who researches appliances for 3 weeks before buying them and always reads the manual. We bought our house in Westerville in 2019, a 4-bedroom colonial on a quiet street where the neighbors know each other's names and the elementary school is a 7-minute walk. We got it for $318,000 at a 3.4% fixed rate. I remember sitting in the title company office with my hand shaking as I signed, and Danny leaning over and whispering, "We built this." 2 years later, our son Caleb arrived. 7 pounds exactly, black hair like Danny, my stubborn jaw, and a vocabulary that was alarming adults by age 3. Why does Grandma Linda's laugh sound fake? Thanksgiving 2023. Not our finest moment as parents, but our life was genuinely good. We had 11 months of emergency savings, 0 credit card debt, a joint account we both contributed to, a household budget I updated every Sunday evening at the kitchen table, and a level of financial stability I had worked extraordinarily hard to build from nothing. I grew up watching my own mother stretch grocery money in ways that would make most people cry. I swore I would never live like that again, and I hadn't, until Danny's sister moved in. Her name is Melissa. She is 30 years old, Danny's younger sister by 4 years, and I want to be honest with you right now at the start of this story, because I think honesty is the only thing worth anything. Melissa is not a villain. She is not evil. She is something more complicated and in some ways more exhausting than evil. She is a person who has spent her entire adult life moving from crisis to crisis with the absolute unshakable certainty that someone else will clean it up. Danny had been cleaning up after her since he was 12 years old. Their father left when Melissa was 8. Danny, the big brother, stepped into the gap, made her lunches, walked her to school, sat with her through nightmares, built his entire identity around being the person who showed up when Melissa needed someone to show up. That bond was iron. I had always respected it. I had always believed I could work around it. I was wrong about the second part. Melissa's son, Cooper, is 6. Sandy hair, gap-toothed smile, a sweet kid who had done nothing to deserve the instability of his mother's choices. His father, a man named Brett, had moved to Phoenix when Cooper was 3 and sent child support with the reliability of a broken clock. Right twice a year, if you were lucky. Melissa had full custody and what felt like a rotating cast of situations that were always someone else's fault. The job that let her go because the owner's sister needed the position. The apartment where the landlord was impossible. The car that kept breaking down. The boyfriend who turned out to be a problem. there was always a reason. The reason was never Melissa. The eviction call came on a Wednesday night in February. I was bathing Caleb. I heard Danny in the kitchen, his voice going through those specific registers I had learned to read over 6 years of marriage. Normal, tense, controlled, resolved. He appeared in the bathroom doorway with the look I had been dreading without knowing I was dreading it, and he said, "Mel's being evicted. She has to be out by Saturday." I didn't say anything immediately. I dried my hands very slowly on the towel. Caleb was making a submarine out of his shampoo bottle. "Saturday?" I said. "3 days." "Yeah. Where is she planning to go?" He looked at me, and I saw it. The 12-year-old boy who packed his little sister's lunchboxes, looking out at me from behind my husband's 34-year-old face. "I told her she could come here," he said. "Just temporarily, 3 weeks maximum. She has a lead on a job and 2 apartments she's looking at." I felt the alarm start, not loud yet, just a low, steady hum somewhere behind my sternum. 3 weeks, I said, "and she contributes to groceries." "Absolutely. I'll tell her. And house rules apply to Cooper the same as they apply to Caleb." "Of course." "And there is an actual end date, on the calendar, written down." "Yes, 3 weeks, Rach, I swear." He was so sincere. That is the thing I need you to understand about Danny. He was not lying to me. He genuinely believed 3 weeks. He always genuinely believed whatever timeline he gave Melissa, because believing the timeline was the only way he could ask me to agree to it. I knew this about him. I agreed anyway. I looked at my husband's face, and I saw the 12-year-old, and I said yes. And that yes cost us $4,100 and 47 days, and 1 therapist, and several conversations I will never fully recover from. And also, eventually, something that was actually worth all of it, but I'm not there yet. Melissa arrived Saturday morning with Cooper, 4 suitcases, 2 laundry bags, a box of Cooper's Legos, and a $30 candle she pressed into my hands at the door, saying, "Thank you so much, Rachel. You are literally saving us." I smiled and helped carry the bags inside. I had already converted our 4th bedroom, my home office, where I ran my billing business, into a guest room. Fresh sheets, a nightstand lamp, a little basket of toiletries. I had put a coloring book on the bed for Cooper. Melissa looked around the room and said, "This is nicer than my apartment." She laughed. I did not. The first week was manageable. Melissa cooked dinner twice. Cooper was polite, said please and thank you, played reasonably well with Caleb. Melissa showed me apartment listings on her phone, told me about a job interview she had scheduled for Thursday. The interview at a medical records company, $15 an hour, full benefits. Promising. The alarm in my chest went quieter. Maybe this would be fine. Maybe 3 weeks was actually 3 weeks. Maybe I had been catastrophizing. I had not been catastrophizing. By day 10, the interview had apparently not gone well because Melissa stopped mentioning it. By day 12, she was sleeping until 10:30 on the mornings Cooper was at school. By day 14, she had stopped doing her dishes after dinner, with a consistency that felt deliberate. On day 15, I found her watching television in the living room at 2 in the afternoon, eating the specific brand of crackers Caleb liked in his school lunches. The package was 3/4 gone. She did not offer to replace them. She did not offer to replace them. She did not appear to notice I had noticed. Day 17 was the first time I brought it up. We were in the kitchen, Danny at work, the boys at school. I asked her, as gently as I could, whether she had heard back from any of the other jobs she had applied for. She looked at me like I had asked something unreasonable. "The market is brutal right now," she said. "Everything wants open availability, and I can't do that with Cooper." I asked about the apartments. She waved her hand. "Everything wants first month and last month and a deposit. That's almost $3,000. I don't have $3,000. What she did not say, and what I only understood later, was that she had $940 in a Venmo account she had not mentioned to anyone, money from selling furniture before the eviction. I know this because I eventually saw the transaction history. But on day 17, sitting in my kitchen while she poured herself a glass of orange juice I had bought, I did not know this. I just knew something was wrong, and I did not yet know how wrong. On day 21, the day she was supposed to leave, I sat Danny down after the boys were in bed. I had my laptop open. I had been tracking every additional expense since Melissa arrived. Groceries, utilities, the pack of socks I had bought Cooper because he had only 2 pairs. The shampoo Melissa had asked me to pick up. The DoorDash order she had placed through my account one evening when she thought I was asleep. 21 days, I said. $1,600 in extra costs, and she has not looked at a single apartment this week. Danny rubbed his face. She's trying, Rach. Is she? Because today she slept until 11 and I have not heard her mention a job or an apartment since last Thursday. You're counting. Someone has to. Silence. The refrigerator hummed. She's my sister, he said. There it was, the phrase that ended every argument, the phrase that functioned less like a sentence and more like a wall. I know, I said. I'm asking you to also be my husband. He set a new deadline. 4 more days. 4 days became a week became 10 days. The deadlines kept moving and Melissa kept not moving, and each morning I woke up and went to my converted kitchen table office because my actual office was occupied. And each evening I updated the mental ledger of what this was costing us. And each night I lay next to Danny staring at the ceiling while he slept with the easy conscience of a man who believed he was being a good brother. Day 31 was the Amazon package. I was bringing in the mail when I saw the brown box on the porch. Addressed to Melissa, at my address. I brought it inside. She opened it at the kitchen counter, pulled out a Lululemon set, leggings, and a quarter zip, in dusty rows, held it up and said, 60% off, can you believe it? It was only $118. I looked at the leggings. I looked at her. I thought about the $1,600. I thought about the apartment deposits she said she couldn't afford. I thought about Cooper's socks. And something that had been bending for 31 days finally, cleanly, broke. You bought Lululemon? I said. My voice was very quiet. It was on sale. You bought a $118 workout set while living in my house without paying a single dollar toward groceries or utilities. Her face changed. The breezy smile went somewhere else. It's not your money, Rachel. No, I said. It's money that could have been your security deposit. It's money that could have been groceries you contributed. It's money that tells me exactly how serious you actually are about leaving. Wow. She set the leggings down slowly. I knew you were keeping score. Someone has to, Melissa. Michael warned me you were like this. I felt the name land. Michael was her ex-boyfriend from 2 years ago. A man Danny had never liked. A man Melissa had complained about to me for 6 months after their breakup. He said you were controlling, that you made everything about money. I looked at her for a long moment. The kitchen was quiet enough that I could hear the clock above the stove. Tell Danny when he gets home, I said. Tell him everything you just said. I want him to hear it. She picked up the Lululemon and went to her room. The door closed hard enough to rattle the frame. But here is where my story goes somewhere the version you might have heard before does not go. Because what happened next was not what I expected. When Danny came home and Melissa told him about our conversation, her version of it, smoothed and reshaped, Danny did not immediately defend her. He listened. He came to find me in the kitchen where I was making dinner. He sat down at the table. He said, "Show me the numbers." I looked at him. "All of them," he said. "Show me what you've been tracking." So I did. I opened the folder on my laptop. Every line item, every grocery receipt, every utility comparison, the DoorDash charge, the socks, the shampoo, the Venmo payment I hadn't known about yet but would. Danny looked at the total. $2,847 at that point. and was quiet for a long time. "I didn't know it was this much," he said finally. "I know," I said, "because you didn't want to look." He didn't argue with that. That night, after Melissa had retreated to her room and Caleb was asleep, Danny and I sat in the living room and had the most honest conversation we had managed in 31 days. He told me about the lunch boxes, about walking Melissa to school, about the years of feeling responsible for whether she was okay or not okay. He cried a little, which Danny almost never does. I held his hand, and I did not say the things I could have said about what that responsibility had cost us. I just listened, because I loved him, and because I understood that the 12-year-old boy was as much a part of this as anyone. But the next morning, I made a phone call. Not to a divorce attorney, not yet. To my college friend Diane, who had become a family law mediator in Columbus. I told her everything. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "Okay, here's what you're going to do. Tomorrow, you open an account at a different bank. Not hidden, protected. Your billing income goes there from now on. Second, I'm going to email you a guest agreement template tonight. It's legally enforceable in Ohio. You put a move-out date on it, a weekly financial contribution, specific house rules, and consequences. Everyone signs. Everyone." "Danny won't like it." "Then Danny's telling you something important about who he's choosing to be right now." I wrote everything down. When I hung up, I sat at my kitchen table office, and I felt something I had not felt in a month. I felt like myself. That evening, I put Caleb to bed early. He wanted a story, so I sat on his bed and read him 3 chapters of the book about the mouse who learns to build things, his current favorite. He fell asleep with his hand curled under his cheek and his stuffed elephant tucked under his arm. I stood in the doorway, watching him breathe for a minute. Then I went downstairs and I drafted the agreement. Move-out date, exactly 21 days from signing. Weekly grocery contribution, $125. Shared household chores on a posted schedule. No packages delivered to our address. No use of shared household accounts without explicit permission. No rearranging. No using Caleb's food. No guests without advance notice. I printed 2 copies. I put them in a manila folder. I set the folder in the center of the kitchen table, and I texted Danny. "Tomorrow night, kitchen table, 7 p.m., you, me, and Melissa. Not optional." He texted back 40 minutes later. "What's in the folder?" I sent him back. "Our future, either way, day 47. I need you to feel this number. 47 days. I had moved my entire home office to the kitchen table. I had spent $4,100. I had recalculated the night before, including the most recent grocery run. $4,100 on a woman who had that morning left her breakfast dishes in the sink, used the last of Caleb's maple syrup on her oatmeal without mentioning it, and spent 45 minutes on the phone with her friend laughing about something while I sat 3 feet away, trying to do medical billing in a house that no longer felt like mine. Dinner that evening was spaghetti. I made it. Everyone ate it. The table conversation was careful and thin, like we were all performing normalcy for an audience. Melissa asked Caleb about school. Danny asked Cooper about his Legos. I ate and said almost nothing and watched the clock move towards 7. At 6:55, I excused myself, checked on both boys, put the iPad in Caleb's room with headphones and 2 downloaded movies and a bowl of popcorn. I told him this was a special treat. He accepted this with the uncomplicated joy of a 5-year-old who has been given screens and popcorn and asked no further questions. I came back downstairs. Danny was at the table. Melissa was leaning against the counter with her arms crossed, looking at the manila folder the way you look at something you would rather not exist. "Sit down, Melissa," I said. She looked at Danny. He nodded. She sat. I opened the folder and slid a copy to each of them. "This is a guest agreement. It covers the terms of your continued stay. Move-out date, financial contribution, house rules. Everyone signs tonight or we discuss next steps with a mediator." Melissa picked it up. Her eyebrows went on a journey. $125 a week? Rachel, I told you I don't have... You had 118 for Lululemon. You have money, Melissa. You make choices about how to spend it. That was a one-time... It was a choice. This is also a choice. You can contribute to this household for 21 more days and leave with a job and an apartment, or we discuss a formal process. She looked at Danny. Are you hearing this? Danny had the agreement flat on the table in front of him. He was reading it carefully, the way engineers read documents, line by line. He looked up. His jaw was set. I had seen that jaw in engineering problem-solving mode, and I had seen it in argument mode, and I had not, until that moment, seen it in this mode. The mode that looked like a man who had finally chosen something he should have chosen weeks ago. Rach put a lot of work into this, he said. And she's right. Melissa stared at him. What? She's right, Mel. 47 days, over $4,000. And I keep moving the deadline because I can't stop being the guy who packed your lunch in middle school. He pushed the agreement toward her. But I have a son in this house who asked me last week why we couldn't go to the science center, and I didn't have an answer that didn't humiliate me. I have a wife who moved her office to the kitchen table and hasn't complained once. And I have a sister who I love, who I will always love, but who I cannot keep enabling at the expense of my family. Melissa's eyes filled. I can't believe you're doing this. I'm not doing anything to you. I'm doing something for us. Sign it, Mel. Let me help you actually get stable instead of just comfortable. The silence in the kitchen lasted approximately 6 seconds. It felt like 6 minutes. And then, because life has timing that no screenwriter would dare invent, Caleb appeared in the kitchen doorway. He had apparently gotten bored with the iPad in the 4 minutes since I had installed him in his room. He was wearing his dinosaur pajamas and holding his stuffed elephant, and he stood in the doorway taking in the scene. His father with his jaw set, his aunt with tears on her face, his mother standing at the head of the table with a manila folder. And his 5-year-old brain did what 5-year-old brains do, which is cut through every layer of adult performance and say the thing that is simply, nakedly true. He looked at Melissa. He tilted his head, and he said, Aunt Mel, when are you going back to your own house? 9 words. He wasn't being cruel. He was being Caleb, the child who had been listening to adult stress through thin walls for 47 days, who had been told no to the science center, and no to the new book, and no to the weekend trip Danny had been talking about since January, who had watched his mother move her office to the kitchen table, and his father have tense, quiet conversations in the garage, and his aunt occupy the room that used to be where Mom worked. He was asking because he genuinely wanted to know. He was asking because in his 5-year-old understanding of the world, people had their own houses, and Aunt Mel had been here for a very long time, and the question seemed obvious. But the effect of those 9 words on the 3 adults in the room was something I will spend the rest of my life being grateful for and slightly awed by. Melissa looked at Caleb. Then she looked at Danny. Then she looked at me. And whatever armor she had been wearing, the performance of the put-upon single mother doing her best, the victim of an unreasonable sister-in-law, the woman who just needed a little grace, it came off. Not dramatically, not with a speech. It just came off, quietly, in the face of a 5-year-old's uncomplicated question. Because you can argue with a spreadsheet, you can dismiss an agreement as controlling, you can frame a reasonable request as an attack, but you cannot look a kindergartner in the eye and tell him his question is unfair. She picked up the pen. She signed the agreement. She didn't say anything. She just signed it, set the pen down, and said, "Good night, Caleb," and walked down the hall and closed her door quietly. Danny crouched down in front of Caleb and said, "Hey, buddy, good question. Aunt Mel is working on finding her own place. It's going to be soon." Caleb nodded, satisfied. "Okay, can I have more popcorn?" "Yeah," Danny said. His voice was thick. "Yeah, you can have more popcorn." After Caleb was back upstairs, Danny and I sat at the kitchen table together for the first time in 47 days, without tension sitting between us like a third person. He reached across, and put his hand over mine. "I'm sorry," he said. "I know. I mean it. I made you fight a battle that should have been mine." "You made me fight it alone," I said. "That's the part that hurt the most." He nodded. He didn't try to explain it away. That was new. That, I thought, was something worth paying attention to. What happened over the next 21 days was not a movie montage. Melissa did not transform. People do not transform in 3 weeks. But the agreement changed the architecture of everything. She could no longer operate in the comfortable ambiguity of a guest with no checkout date. The rules were written down. Everyone had signed them. Reality had a shape now, and she had to move inside it. Day 4, after signing, Melissa applied for a job at a medical imaging center doing administrative intake. Not glamorous, not her dream, but real and full-time and local. Day 7. She handed me $125 in cash in an envelope that said groceries on it in her handwriting. I put it in the household account without comment, but I felt something release in my chest when I did. Day 9. Danny drove her to look at 2 apartments. A 1-bedroom in Gahanna for $975, a 2-bedroom in Westerville, 4 blocks from us, for $1,150. She applied for both. Day 12. The medical imaging center called her back. Second interview. Day 15. She got the job. She came into the kitchen where I was making dinner and said, "I got it," in a voice that was trying very hard not to sound as surprised as it was. I turned around and I said, "Melissa, that's genuinely great news." And I meant it. I really, completely meant it. Day 17. She was approved for the 1-bedroom in Gahanna. Danny covered the deposit, $975 from his personal savings account, not our joint account, exactly as the agreement stipulated. He showed me the bank notification. I said, "Good. That was all. That was enough." Day 21, moving day. I had expected it to feel like a victory. It felt more like the end of a very long storm. Not triumphant exactly, just quiet, with that particular quality of air that comes after something difficult has passed. Melissa packed her 4 suitcases and her laundry bags and Cooper's Legos, and she stood in the hallway. The same hallway where those suitcases had arrived 47 days earlier. And she looked at me with an expression I had not seen on her face before. Not the performance, not the deflection, not the charm that she turned on and off like a faucet. Just her actual face. Tired. A little raw. Something like honest. "I know this wasn't what you signed up for," she said. "No," I agreed. "But Cooper deserves stability. Go build him some." She blinked. She had expected something else from me. Some final accounting. Some lingering resentment. Instead, I stepped forward and hugged her. Briefly. Genuinely. And then I stepped back and watched her load her car. Danny stood on the porch. When her taillights disappeared around the corner, he came back inside and his eyes were red, and I put my arms around him and held on. "She's going to be okay," I said into his shoulder. "I know," he said. "I just spent so long being the person she called. I don't know how to not do that." "You don't have to stop," I said. "You just have to do it from a different distance." He held on tighter. Behind us, Caleb appeared in the hallway in his dinosaur pajamas, always the dinosaur pajamas, and said, "Is Aunt Mel gone?" "She got her own place," Danny said. "Like she was supposed to," Caleb said, with the serene confidence of a child for whom the world has just returned to its correct order. "Can we go to the science center now?" Danny laughed. It was the first real laugh I had heard from him in weeks. Not polite, not managed, just genuine. "Yeah, buddy, this weekend, I promise." That Saturday, they went, both of them. I stayed home for 2 hours in my actual office, moved back upstairs, desk back in place, client files back in the filing cabinet, and I sat at my desk and did billing work in the quiet of my own house, and I felt For the first time in 47 days, like the woman I had built myself into. Not the woman who had been hosting and tracking and managing and absorbing. Me. The one who built this from nothing and swore she would never live, stretched thin again. Melissa and I are not close. I don't expect we will be. She texts Danny on Sundays. She sent Caleb a birthday card with a $20 bill inside and a sticker of a dinosaur. She is 3 weeks into her new job and 1 week into her new apartment, and according to Danny, she bought a kitchen table at a thrift store and assembled it herself and sent him a photo. I am glad for her. I mean that without any irony. She is Cooper's mother, and Cooper is a good kid, and I want him to have a stable one. Danny and I are in couples therapy. It was his idea, which I think is the most important part. Not that we're going, but that he was the one who said we needed to. He told the therapist about the lunch boxes, about being 12 years old and deciding he was responsible for Melissa's well-being. And for the first time, I watched him trace the line between that decision and every decision he had made in our marriage that had cost me something. He didn't do it to excuse himself. He did it to understand himself. There is a difference, and it matters enormously. The folder with the signed guest agreement is in my filing cabinet. The bank account I opened at the credit union still has my billing income going into it. Not because I don't trust Danny, but because having my own financial foundation makes me a better partner, not a worse one. Diane, my mediator friend, told me that, and she was right. And the napkin. Because every story like this has a napkin. I had written the number on a receipt, actually. $4,100. One night at midnight at my kitchen table office, the displaced version of me doing the math by lamplight while the rest of the house slept. I kept it in my wallet for 3 weeks after Melissa left. Last Sunday, I threw it away. Not because I have forgotten. Because I have finished needing the reminder. The house is quiet in the evenings now, in a way I had stopped expecting it to be. Caleb is asleep with his elephant. Danny is reading in the bedroom. I am at my actual desk in my actual office writing this down because I think there are women in situations exactly like the one I was in who need to hear this. Your name is on the mortgage. Your income built the emergency fund. Your yes made the guest room possible. That doesn't make you a landlord or an accountant or a villain. It makes you the person whose home it is. And there is no version of generosity that requires you to disappear inside your own house to make space for someone else's avoidance of their own life. Draw the line. Hold it. Not because you are cold or because you are keeping score, though the score is real and it is legitimate. Because a 5-year-old should never have to ask a question that the adults in the room were too afraid to ask themselves. Caleb asked it. 9 words, and it cracked everything open in the best possible way.